We've all signed things without really reading the fine print. But what happens when a deal isn't just a bad bargain, but it's so fundamentally unfair that it just shouldn't be legal? Well, today we're going to dive into a powerful courtroom story that answers that exact question, and it all revolves around this incredible concept known as equity's shield.
So let's start with the central question, the one this whole story is built on. When is a deal so one-sided, so unfair, that it crosses a line and shouldn't even be legal? Where exactly does a law draw that line between a tough negotiation and pure exploitation?
To figure that out, we have to go back to 1983 in Australia, and we need to meet Mr. and Mrs. Amadio. They were an elderly couple who, well, they found themselves right in the middle of a super high-stakes financial mess, one that would end up becoming a truly landmark legal battle. And right here, you can just see the incredible imbalance of power we're talking about. On one side, you've got the Amadios, an older couple. They didn't speak English very well, and they had basically zero business experience. And on the other side, a massive commercial bank, staffed with financial experts. This huge gap is precisely what the court would later label a special disadvantage. So what did the bank actually want from them? Well, their son's business was in trouble, and the bank needed someone to guarantee his loans. So they went straight to his parents, the Amadios, and asked them to sign a contract putting their own property, their family home, up as collateral. The stakes for this family were, they just couldn't have been any higher. This whole situation leads us right to the core legal idea at the heart of this case. What in the world does it actually mean when a court decides a deal is unconscionable? Okay, so this idea comes from a part of the law called equity, which is designed to step in when following strict legal rules would lead to a totally unfair outcome. An unconscionable deal is one that's so ridiculously one-sided that it just shocks the conscience. And the key thing here isn't just that it's a bad deal, it's that one party knew about the other's serious vulnerability, their special disadvantage, and they exploited it to get what they wanted. The way the court thought about this broke down into a really simple three-step test. First, did a special disadvantage actually exist? For the Amadios, absolutely. Their age, their language skills, their lack of business savvy. Second, did the stronger party, the bank, know about it? The evidence showed, yeah, they did. And third, the final piece, did the bank take advantage of that weakness? The court's conclusion was a definite yes. And that brings us to this incredibly powerful and direct quote from Australia's High Court. They did not mince words. The court flat out said that the bank had exploited the Amadia special disadvantage, and that this action was, in the eyes of the law, unconscionable. It was a direct and serious condemnation of how the bank behaved. So what was the final outcome? In a huge, decisive moment, the court voided the guarantee. It was set aside, completely wiped out, as if it had never even been signed. The Amadios' home was safe. That unfair contract was officially unenforceable. But here's the thing. This case was about so much more than just one family's victory. It created a legal precedent that has lasted for decades. So let's take a look at why this decision is so often called equity's shield. So why are we still talking about a case from 1983? Because its legacy is a powerful protection for every single one of us. It proved that your signature on a piece of paper isn't always the final word, especially when someone's been taken advantage of. It was a clear signal that the law has a duty to protect the vulnerable, and that sometimes the simple principle of fairness can and absolutely should override the black and white text of a contract. And all this leaves us with a really fascinating question for our own time, right? The Amadios faced disadvantages like age and language, but today we click I agree on these super dense terms of service we never ever read. We're dealing with complex digital systems every single day. So what are the new special disadvantages the law needs to protect? Maybe a lack of digital literacy, or the total inability to understand how an algorithm works? It really makes you wonder what kind of protections Equity's Shield should be offering all of us now.